Okay, how about turn my mic on? That would help, right? So much for prepping. Let's bring that. Thanks, Sharon. Now can you hear me? Let's see, I'll wait till I could. Okay, working now. Thank you. Thank you. I guess I thought my desktop microphone would have kicked in, but I guess not. It wanted my actual mic on. So thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Anyway, as I was saying, hi, Jody. Yeah, Jody, you're usually the one that's really good about, hey, get your mics off. But thank you, guys. So anyway, what I was saying was welcome to my live coffee chat and scrap, where I have no coffee today because I've had too much getting ready for my what I want to talk about today. So I drink that second cup and now I'm up to the water. So, but that's okay. And I was also saying hello. If you're new here, let us know. If you're going to watch this on the replay, let us know where you're from and who you are. We would like to know that. And I am Diane Gutierrez. I am a Creative Memories advisor located in California, Southern California, to be a little bit more exact. I offer both in-person crops and virtual crops. So if you want more information, the best place to find me is my Facebook page. Over there, I have a list of all my events. You can just go to the events tab, and I usually have the whole month is there, whether it's virtual or in person. And the link for that is going to be in the description of this video, and it's also in all my videos. So you can reach me like that, or if you're not a Facebook person, you can always email me and get in touch with me that way, and I could either add you to my email list and you would know my events, or I can just send you the whatever events I have coming up. Okay, so we have a few things to talk about today. I'm going to switch my screen and make sure my mute doesn't stay on. Oops. Let's go to this one. There we go. Okay, so a few things in Creative Memories world. Let me back up that video. If you haven't already heard, the trail sign punch has sold through. It was very, very popular. And but what they decided to do was they decided to take some pre-orders. So this is a first. It's kind of exciting. And so if you missed out on this, you can still get it by ordering it now. And you can order it by itself until the end of this month. I believe it's the 28th. And you just have to be a little patient because it's expected to arrive sometime during the summertime. But you can still get one. And the other way that you can get one is by ordering the Buy It All bundle, which I wanted to mention that the Buy It All bundle is still on sale at 10% off until tomorrow at noon Central Time. Okay, so you can still order the bundle, but the punch would still be delayed. Okay. And then as I was prepping this morning, I realized, well, actually last night I realized, but didn't have a chance to change my video for you, is if you're interested in the new graduation paper pack that did go onto the hot list yesterday, sometime toward the afternoon. So if you're interested in that, or you have a graduating grad this year that you want to get that paper pack for, it's a smaller pack, it's a 6-pack. And it's actually called Congrats Grad. So if you're looking for that on the website, that's how you can find it. So that is a hot item as well as this bundle. So go grab those if you need those or want those. Okay. And then I also wanted to talk about my virtual National Scrapbook Day event. If you're interested, I am holding a Zoom event on April 22nd. It'll be from 9 a.m. Pacific time, my time, until 3 p.m. I'm titling it Keeping It Simple and Getting Our Pages Done. So I will be teaching 3 different 2-page layouts, and I'll be breaking those up. I'm going to assume they're going to take about an hour each. And we'll start with one, take a break, finish up the project if we need to, and then start the other one. Each session will be recorded and available in a separate Facebook group that I'll have just for that event. And also I probably will, if you don't have Facebook, we can work out another way. Okay? So if you want information about that, this is also linked in the description below. It's on my Facebook page if you want to look it up there. And if you just click the registration link, you can read all about it. There's no commitment. Just by pushing the link, you can just read about it. It was just the easiest way to put all the information in one area. And then you can register if you would like. Okay? Okay. Make sure I'm not muted. There we go. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. It's still scrapbooking related, but what I want to talk about is go-to designs or some basic page layouts that you want to keep in the back of your mind, maybe write them down. I use my go-to designs, and I have 3 of my top favorite ones, and I use them for times where I want to get some scrapbooking done. Maybe I'm pressed for time. I don't have time. So to sit and look through inspiration, although I love doing that, but when I want to get something done quickly, I keep these in my back of my mind so that whenever I need to, I just pull one out, change it up. Once you get what your favorites are, then it's going to be easier to manipulate the paper, changing up how you lay it out onto your base page or your album. So there's lots of ways to take your basic designs and change them around so that you could use them over and over. Just by changing the paper, changing the embellishments, you get a whole new look at it. So I use them for when I don't have time to look for something, or maybe I'm in a little bit of a scrapbook funk and I need something quick or something I don't need to think about. If like I said, time, these are perfect. You can start one in an evening and do what you can, come back the next day and work on it. Okay, it's just like any other page basically. But I feel like having your go-to designs helps you be more creative because you could twist it, turn it, and of course have fun playing with the embellishments. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to show you today my top 3 that I like to use, and then I'm hoping that you will start thinking about which ones you want to use, write those down, keep those handy, and it'll help you with your process as well. Okay, so let me just change over to my overhead, and I'm going to say hello to all of you who joined us since my sound came back on. Hi Barb, Irma, Lori, and Jody, Sharon, all you guys, Gwen. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And there we go. Okay, so the first one and I've done this on my channel several times. I believe I even have a Keeping It Simple series using this exact same technique. And I teach this all the time, especially to new scrapbookers, and that's the half and half design. So I have a lot of notes here. So if you hear me wrestling with paper and I have my little cart over here with everything stacked up, that's what I'm doing. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So this is my half and half design, and basically you start with the 12-inch piece of paper and you basically just cut it right in half. So you end up with 2 6 by 12-inch pieces. Okay, so nothing super exciting about that. The magic happens when you flip over one of the sides. Okay, so I like to flip it over. You use one piece if you're making a one-page layout, of course. You can use a one piece where you like both sides. This is a great way to, you like both sides, but you don't want to cover up one side of it. Here we go. We cut it in half and we flip it over. Okay, and then I like to bring in something to cover up the seam. So this is a great way to use your punches, your border making cartridges, your washi tape, or even another scrap piece of paper from the collection, about a 1-inch piece or even a 1/2 inch, right over the top of that seam. And there we go. That's our basic half and half design. That's what I call it. That helps me remember. I have my in-person croppers. I say half and half. They know exactly what I'm talking about because that's how I refer to it. And that's the best way for me. But come up with your own nicknames, whatever helps you to remember. Okay, I love this one because it's simple, it's super easy, and it's easy to remember, right? Just cut it in half and flip it over. Okay, what if we wanted to make a 2-page? I would do a mirror. Oops, let's turn this one around. A mirror image. Again, super quick, super easy. There we go. I think it's beautiful. And of course, you changing up your papers are going to help to make it even more and more beautiful if you had different papers, different collections. And then of course, adding your photos is going to, make it beautiful as well. Okay, so how would I use this? Let me pull in my little sample photos. This one can hold a lot of photos. Okay, I probably would put one up here. And then this one this one is great for 4x6s. And if you wanted to keep it in its section and not tuck it under, then you could just trim it ever so slightly. But you see down here, it has all that open space for a 4x6 could fit right in there. And then I probably would put a little 4x4 next to that. Maybe come over here, do the same thing. Oops, I glued that one down, but I would probably tuck it. And I have, how many do I have on here? 7. I have 7 photos, room here if I wanted to. And if I wanted to make them a little smaller, I would put 3 up here. So there's lots of room to add photos to this type of layout. Okay, let's talk about where we would put our title and our journaling. I have all this open room. You could put your journaling here or over to the other side, depending on how much you had to say. I'm just showing this journaling box today because it's big enough for us to see. But let's say I wanted to put it right over here. Maybe I would want to put my title up here as well. And then for embellishing, I still have lots of room over here, so I could put my biggest cluster here or over here. Let's say we're going to put it right there, and you can see how I'm filling in this page now. And then I would probably bring another cluster right there, and then I have a small one. And depending on the size of photos I have down here, I would put it probably somewhere down here or even on the other page. Okay, and that's our first example of half and half. I'm going to show you ways that we can change that up in a minute. Okay. Hi, Nancy from Canada. Thank you for joining me. Okay, how many of you have go-to designs and what are your favorite ones? Let me know. And if you're watching on replay, put it in the chat or in the comments, because this way we can maybe start a little collection and we can come back to that list and see what are people using and then try them out. Try them out and see if it's something that works for you. I used to think that the grid style was because I'm kind of linear when I'm putting my pages together. I thought the grid style was my favorite, but then I was looking through an album once and I realized I didn't have one grid layout in the whole album. So that's when I realized that I have my 3 favorites and this is one of them. So let me know if you guys are the same way, or if you're like, no, I've never heard of this concept before. Okay, so let me clean this one up, and I'm going to bring in some other papers that we could use to make take our go-to design and just tweak it ever so slightly and create something maybe a whole different style. Hi, Kathy. Okay. Let's see here. what do I want to show you first? Let me bring this paper back in and show you actually what we could do with one piece of paper instead of, before I go on to the next one. If you just had one piece of paper and maybe you only like one side of it, then you could still do a 2-page layout and still call it a half and half if you just put it half on each side and let the cardstock or another piece of pattern paper here be the other half of your page. Okay, so if you want to save a little bit of paper, maybe you don't like both sides, then creating a with one piece of paper, this is what it would look like. Okay, and then let me bring this one back in really fast, because what we didn't talk about is what we would want to do to change this up right away before I show you what I'm going to show you. And that's just going to be trimming the paper a little bit. But if we didn't want to trim the paper, we wanted to keep it just like this, then we can just turn it this way. We have vertical. If we want to go up and down, if your pictures are not going to fit in the other design, maybe this would be a better design for you. And then of course, you know, you could just go upside down completely and change it around like that. Okay, but this way is one of my favorites too. It gives a whole new look. You could probably sit and do the whole day, do half and half designs and just keep changing it up. I mean, I probably wouldn't do a whole album worth of them because it would be, after a while you might get bored, but definitely you can sit at a crop and do these all day long. Okay, now I'll clean this up and bring in the next the next one. Okay, so when you're choosing paper for your half and half, my recommendation would be, well, of course you have to like both sides of the paper, and I prefer to have something that's has a lot of contrast between the two sides. Okay, so I'm going to show you this paper. It's beautiful paper with some little stars, and get up close here, you can see it has like little starbursts. And when you turn it over, now I like this other half of the paper, but to me, it's not enough contrast. But depending on the story I want to talk about or the event, then maybe this is exactly what I would want to do. But I would prefer something with a little more contrast. But let me bring this border back in. But you can see just adding a border, a third color or a third piece of paper or something really helps out as well. So even though I probably wouldn't choose this one, it looks really nice as a half and half. But I do prefer something with a little more contrast. Okay, so by that, let me bring this in and show you what I mean. So this piece of purple paper is just absolutely beautiful. And when you turn this one over, you'll see the difference in the contrast. Okay, so to me right away, when I go through my paper packs, when I get them, I'm automatically in my mind thinking half and half, because that truly is my first go-to design, go-to layout that I use. Okay, so that's the difference, and that's the one we're going to use for today. Okay, just check my notes here, make sure I got everything I wanted to say about that. Okay, so how can we change it up and do something a little different with our half and half design? We're going to do a couple things. So first I'm going to bring in a lighter purple background piece. Okay, and that's going to be where I'm going to build off of. And then for this one, I'm going to just trim off a half an inch all the way around. So I'll do a half an inch, not all the way around, I'm sorry, half an inch off two sides. So I'm going to make a 11.5 by 11.5 inch square. And you can either cut it in half before you do that part or after. So now I'm going to cut it in half. So instead of 6 inches, then I'm just going to do what, 5.5, right? Yeah, 5.25. Ooh, somebody check my math. Ah, see, I should have cut it before. 5 and, oh, let's see, that would be, no, it's going to be 5.75. Yeah, 5.75. Sorry about that, guys. I should have cut that first. Cut it in half first. Don't do what I did. Cut it in half, 6 and 6, and then take off the 1/2 inch on the side. Okay, and then you could lay it onto the paper, your cardstock. I'm going to switch these around. I like to have the darker piece toward the bottom just to balance the weight. And I like the fact that this is kind of a chevron print and it's pointing upward. Okay, but it really depends on what you have, what style paper you have. Okay, so now I took my paper, I cut it in half. Let's just assume I cut that in half first. Took off a 1/2 inch, and now I'm putting it onto a background piece, and it has the mat behind it. I like to call that a frame style foundation. Depends, I think I got that from Dorothy Guinan from Scrapbooking Quebec. I think she says that all the time, and I love that. And so you can see how that automatically changed up from what we had the first time. Okay, but still a 1/2 and 1/2. Okay, bring in some kind of border strip. Now I'm just using different colors to highlight. I don't know, pink actually looks pretty good, but I'm not sure I would use it. And with this, you could put it right across. You can run it from edge to edge from the background piece, or you could trim it and put it just across the seam of the center. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let it run across just for our sake of our sample. And it's going to look like that. Now I bent my paper, so let me fix that. Okay, so how would I lay photos out on this one? If it was a 2-page spread, you can mirror it. You can also slide it in a little closer to the edge so that when the 2 pages are together, they look like they meet. Okay, you could bring these, let me take this off. You could bring these papers down, up and down as much as you like. Okay, so let's assume we're going to slide it to the edge and put the strip just like that. Okay, I would trim this. And how would I lay my photos? Let me grab my samples. On this one, you could do it right in the middle. If this is a 1-page spread, you can do your photos right in the middle. You want to get 3 photos on there, you can scoot these up. I would still try and keep it within the background of the paper only because it kind of creates a mat for them, but don't forget you could adjust this. And then I would probably bring in a 3rd one. You can overlap your photos. You have room to bring it down a little bit. And there you go. If you repeated this on the 2nd page, you could get 6 photos on a 2-page. Okay, I like this one. I like this one a lot. So let me show you. Let me see if I have my smaller. You can't get 3 straight across. And let me see where my mat's wet. Not if they're 4x6, you can't get 3 across, but if you cut them down, so if I put, I'm going to move these back to the center, and if I put smaller photos on, so these are only 3.5 inches. Let's see if I have any more with me. You could print, you could put 3 across the center. It does kind of cover up your seam, but that's okay. We just want a little bit popping through. And then another way you can change this up is if you bring in another piece of cardstock or another piece of patterned paper, and you give that a mat behind all of these. Adds that layers that we were talking about. If you saw my Keeping It Simple series, then you know about adding layers to our page, and this is a great way to add another layer, add another piece behind, and I love this style. Okay, so how would I do my journaling? You have lots of places to journal. In fact, if you have smaller photos, you can even put smaller photos on and around that strip in the center. But I would probably do my journaling somewhere down here. I could slide my box up and have it more into the top area, which would open up this down here for a photo. I would maybe put my biggest cluster here because I have all that extra space. And then my title and another cluster up here, and you can just keep playing with it. And I highly recommend doing this, actually, making your own templates. You could obviously see I just handmade those, and make your own so that you could move them around on the page. There we go. So I have my title, and then I probably would move the cluster here so it's kind of a diagonal. On a one page, I don't always try to get a triangle necessarily, but you certainly could if you wanted to bring in somewhere else. Okay? Yeah, Lori, these are pretty, huh? I'm trying to remember where this one came from. I believe it was the a Totally Tonal pack from last year. But yeah, that purple is beautiful. So, okay, so that's how we could manipulate our half and half design to get it to work for us, okay? And have that one stored up. I like to have this one stored up so that I could pull it out anytime. Anytime I just start playing around with it and creating. Okay, let me take this off. I also wanted to show you the sketchbook, because when you start thinking about your designs and you want to start looking like, what is my favorite design? Start looking in your sketchbooks and pulling some out. You're going to see that the designs I'm going to talk about today they're kind of all over the place. So I didn't create these. I just like them and they became my own personal favorite ones. Okay, so here we have one. Hold it up a little closer so you can see both. There we go. So you'll see right away the 6-inch block of paper here and the 6-inch block of paper there. They put something right in the middle. This is cute too. They put a border sticker, and then they have, looks like 2 border stickers, but you could always do a border sticker and like an edge punch or something. Okay, and you see how they arrange the photos. They got on 4 on this by putting the 2, it's probably about a 4x5, and then 2 circle ones. So that's cute. And then let me flip over to this page. So you'll see it again. Here we go. And you'll see in the sketch, it's a full sheet here and a full sheet here. They did leave a little bit of a margin here, so they just pushed it together, probably like I was just showing. Adjust the paper how you want to do it. They arranged the photos by keeping them 2 at the top. They look like they're almost probably not a 4x6, but maybe again a 4x5. And then 2 at the bottom, and then they did their embellishing up. They kind of kept it very linear, like I probably would, right? Keep it, everything has its own category. Okay, and then one more. Here we go. So this one, again, it's the half and half. They used photo mats behind the photos, changing it up. They did a strip down the center and then 2 embellishment clusters. Okay. So again, this one's like almost set up like the other one, except reverse, right? They had the photos reverse. So you see what I'm saying? You can just change it, spend the whole day doing half and halves. And then this one I found on one of the virtual crops from actually January of this year, was a half and half design. And I apologize for my printer is once again giving me some issues. But so here you see the half and half, 6 inch here, 6 inches here. But what they did down here is they changed it up and they did little pieces, 1-inch pieces across. Great for scraps, right? So another good idea, you could just use colored cardstock at the top or a piece of pattern paper as your base, and then just decorate the bottom with little strips, 3 photos across. And that was just in January. Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 2. And number 2 is going to be very similar to my number 1, my half and half. And it's going to be, let me bring it in here, what I like to call 2/3, 1/3. Very, very similar, but creates a different look. Okay, so imagine this is my full 12-inch piece of paper. And let me get rid of my trash. Here's my full 12-inch piece of paper, but this time instead of cutting it in half, I'm going to cut it into 1/3 and 2/3. So basically a 4-inch section and an 8-inch section. Okay, the magic happens when we turn it over. And there we go. Bring in my strip. And again, we can use anything, washi tape, border strips, stickers, border sticker strips is what I'm trying to say, and then punch outs from a cartridge or a punch. Okay, so again, a super easy one. Let me move some things around here so I could bring in, if we wanted to create 2 pages, I do this one quite often as just a mirror image. And the difference for me between this one and my half and half is that I feel like I have much more room down here for my photos. So the half and half, it kind of divides it up. It's great too if you had, the half and half is great if you had like different themes on one page. But this one, it kind of really spells out where I would put my photos, because I would put my photos down here, and I could even place a few in this top section up here, but great for my, also for my journaling and my title. So this one is to me a little easier to understand and to say, okay, I know where my photos are going, right at the bottom. Okay, but what's super fun about this one is if I turn these, again, you can do it just like we did with the half and half, turn them, and now a totally different look. What I like to do on this one is, let me turn it this way. I think it's a little bit better. And of course, I would probably not do it on a piece of paper that has a direction. Like I chose balloons to show as my example. And then I was like, well, I probably shouldn't have picked something that had a direction. But these are kind of faded, and they're kind of, you know, tone on tone. So add some photos there, you probably wouldn't even notice. So there we go. I just flipped them over on this side, and now I have like the full 12-inch piece of pattern paper here, and then off to the sides I have the second piece of pattern paper. You could either, to get these in your album, you could either just weld the back of them. We've talked about that before, but that's just where you're going to put a small strip of cardstock behind those 2 pieces. It would go like right here on the back side. You could wallpaper it right onto another piece of cardstock, or you could wallpaper it onto right into your album. Okay, same with the other half and half design. Okay, so that changes it up right away. Okay, so then how would I use this one? Let me grab those mats again. And let's see here. Now this is a 4-inch strip. I have, so if I wanted to put a 4-inch photo there, it's going to be, there's not going to be any room. So if you wanted to put a 4x6 photo here, you would probably want to trim it so that some of your pattern paper is showing through. And I think I have a mat in here that shows that a little bit better. So here's one that is 4.5 by 3.5. That's a good size. You can also put smaller ones. Here's a 3.5 inch. And then over here, I would plenty of room to put those 4x6 or 6x4s, and you still have room down here if you had some smaller ones, or if you wanted to trim those down. So many options with this one. Let's see if I have any more. We could line up 3x3.5 straight down the center, same as over here, and then we could put some more over here. So even if so how many did I get here? 2, 4, 6, 8. I got 8 on here right away, and you can see there's still plenty of room to get more on here. But I want to get my journaling and my title on. And did I lose my journaling box already? Probably got mixed up with these. Huh. Okay, I lost my journaling box already, guys. Okay, let me see. I have my... Let's find another plan here. That's going to be our journaling box. How did that happen? I barely started. Okay. So this is going to be my journaling box, and maybe I want to put it right here. And let me see if I can grab a pen and write journaling on here. Okay, and title would be probably up here. And then my embellishment clusters. Well, I have a lot of room on both of these bottom sides, so I feel like that's exactly where I would embellish, somewhere along the bottom here, and maybe over here, and you can even split these up if you wanted to, and put it in the middle, and then a small embellishment cluster right there. And that way we have our visual triangle. Okay. Yep, I love this one. Okay, does anybody do any of these? Are these looking familiar to some of you? Do you use them? Let me know. Okay, so let's see, was that all I wanted to show on this one before I take this one away? Okay, yep. So let me take off the photos, keep the journaling to the side. Okay, but I do have one other way I would change this up. A couple different ways, actually. Let's take this away. Okay, let me see. I did want to show, actually, let me bring it back in. If I had the one page back again, and my cardstock. Okay, here's our base. We have our 8-inch piece there at the bottom, and then we have our 4-inch space, our 4-inch piece. Another thing you could do is turn it upside down, the second piece, turn it over and place it like this direction. So instead of it being at the top, you can pick maybe something a little bit better than black. That's what I had laying here to show you, but you can put it off to the side. You're still using the 2/3, 1/3. We're just putting it off to the side now. Then you can bring in some more border strips and decorate that. This is actually a very pretty design. There we go. And my photos would go here, here, and I would bring in some smaller photos for the strip, just like we did on the last page. And then for journaling, I probably would bring it down here. Maybe if it's too big, you just move things around, tuck it under, and I would put my title up there. And then for the embellishment clusters, I have most room up here. So I'd put my biggest one at the top and probably another one down here, and probably not put a third one on this one page because it's kind of has a lot going on. It has the border and then a lot of photos. So here I got 4 photos on. Okay. Okay. Let's remove that. These. So how would I change up my 2/3, 1/3? Well, here's one way. This one I actually found when I was prepping for this video. I was pulling out some paper and then I found this one and it was already adhered like this. I guess I made it for something and never used it. So, but you can see right away, right? I have the big 8-inch piece at the top, and then this is the open paper. It's the same. I used a piece of pattern paper for the background, adhered the 8-inch piece up here, and then trimmed off a 1/2 inch on a 1/2 inch total. So it's about 1/4 inch showing on each side. But this is, you'll see it's not quite 4 inches. So we don't want to get hung up that it has to be 4 inches. Here's the 4-inch mark on my mat. So you'll see it's slightly bigger. Okay. But I love that one. I love this design. It's the opposite of what we were just talking about, where we would put all of our photos up at the top. Cover this up. Or not. It was actually very pretty the way it was. But if you wanted to cover up that seam area, there you go. And then I wanted to show one other thing. I gutted that back piece. So if you're worried about using pattern paper, then you can always gut it just like we do a full piece, but we would just stop instead of going all the way down. So that's why I wanted to show that one. I thought that was worth showing. So what I have now is I'm taking my 2/3, 1/3, and I'm going to bring in a background piece of paper. And here's where it's great for scraps, because these were actually scraps in my collection. Okay, and it was already cut like this. I think this is a pretty common cut that we have left over, is 4 inches. I believe this one is a little shorter. Yeah, it's about a 3.5 inch. It's okay. It's going to work perfectly. Nobody's going to know it's only 3.5 inches. But you can still use up the 4-inch area at the top by bringing it down just a little bit. So I have it at the 4-inch mark, and there we go. So that would be the top. But this one was an 8-inch piece. Let me get my ruler. Let's see what this one was. Yeah, 8 inches and by 11. So I took off a little bit. I think it was an 8x12 when I started. I did trim it a 1/2 inch because this one, I like to call this one the apron because for whatever reason, it reminds me of an apron. I feel like this would be the tie and then this would be the front that you would wipe your hands on. So I call that one the apron. And I love this one because it's super simple. Kind of takes my 2/3, 1/3 design and creates something totally different. Right? If you want to change it up a little more, I could bring in your tools. This is a really pretty look as well. I don't think I cut it. There we go. Bring in that corner rounder, put it back under, and it just changes it up, gives it a really soft feel by adding just a little bit of a corner round. Again, you can show as much of that beautiful background paper that you want just by moving this around. Okay, how would I put the photos on this one? Right here in our big 2/3 piece of paper. You could overlap them if that's your thing, or you could put them side by side. Let's just say we're going to overlap them. And probably something like this, depending, I would really be working my scraps right now. So if I wanted to make a corresponding second page, if I had enough, I could mirror it, or I could just pull in some of these other colors. Okay. In fact, my one I just showed, might make a really good second page. Okay, they all came from the same collection, so my paper coordinates very well together. We can always pretty much guarantee that our paper is going to look nice together if it came from the same pack paper. Okay, hi Jean, I just saw you posted. Hi, thank you for joining us. Okay, so my journaling would go probably over here. I have lots of room. I can move my photos around if I need to. Again, you guys know my title is going to go up at the top. I'm a creature of habit when it comes to that. And I would probably put a big embellishment cluster at the top. This would be like maybe a very pretty piece of paper that I want to highlight and showcase, so maybe I don't want to cover that much up. It's a great use for that. Those busy pattern papers that we have is excellent for this type of layout, because sometimes we love that beautiful boldness and how busy the paper is, but we don't want it all in our face at the same time. So maybe this is a good use of that. We put a little strip of it and then tone it down with the rest of the paper. As far as more embellishment clusters, I would maybe tuck one down here. So we have that diagonal, and if you really wanted to get in a third to make your triangle, you can put one maybe right up there. Okay, so that one is my 2/3, 1/3, my second favorite go-to basic page, but I nicknamed it the Apron. So make your own fun nicknames to help you remember when you're sitting there struggling and you don't know quite what to do. I think that's the biggest question, like how do I start or how do I continue working? Well, these are the tips. Have those ready to go. Okay, so let's see. One more, actually, probably two more on this one because I really like this one too. This one is using those big chunky borders that we make. A lot of times these big chunky borders, they're already going to account for that 1/3 of our layout space, right? So we have our full piece. The 1/3 is those 4 inches, and you'll see this border is 3.5 inches. You can slide it all the way down to your 4-inch mark if you wanted to. And there you go. So now I'm taking up 1/3 of my piece of paper with my border, but I probably would slide it up and just do that. Okay. And then if you wanted to bring in the other part of that, this is your background. You're bringing in 1/3 here. Here's how you can bring in the 2/3 piece, just like this. Overlap that, and you just have a little bit of the background showing on each. Now, of course, you can trim your paper and stick a little bit, an inch here and an inch there, and save that beautiful blue paper. But quick, if you want to be quick about it, you can just adhere everything down. So I wanted to include this one in our 2/3, 1/3 because I feel like sometimes we make those big chunky borders and I think we don't know how to use them, but if we think of it in a way that, oh, this fits into my 2/3, 1/3 design, it makes it a little bit easier how we're going to incorporate that and still get a lot of photos on. Hi, Carla. You're watching. Oh, it's 87. Oh, I think, and 81 in Massachusetts. Oh my gosh, it's so funny because believe it or not, it was raining again this morning. I thought we were done. We had such beautiful weather over the Easter weekend. It was so nice. And then yesterday, cloudy. Today, cloudy and rain. It wasn't even in the forecast. And I think I have my shades down right now, but I think the sun might be coming out. But so you guys must have our California weather. And here we think we pay that sunshine tax, but I guess we haven't been paying enough. Okay, so let's make a 2/3, 1/3. Let me pull back in this. Let's see, what do I want? This paper, because the back side is gorgeous too. This is one of those that both sides, you see how beautiful that is? And it's hard to decide which ones to do. So but I'm going to do a 2/3, 1/3. Kind of similar to what we just did with the big border. I'm going to trim off a little piece. And put that aside. Then I'm going to bring in a border punch. Oh, see, you guys all have nice weather. Literally have my sweater on again today. So I'm bringing in a border punch, and I'm just going to punch. This is a frame punch, but it works as a border. You guys know that. And I'm just going to punch out a border. Okay, we're still working with the 2/3, 1/3. Yeah, this is beautiful yellow. This was Golden Harvest. Whoops. I was reading the... Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I don't like to do wind at all. Wind is the worst for me. Ugh. And I live in a very windy city, believe it or not. And it's the name of my city is Simi Valley, and it's the Indians' name for windy, apparently. And my husband and I joked that when we bought this house, it should have been a disclosure, because it's always more windy on our block than it is right down the street. So we feel like they should have told us that. Probably wouldn't have changed my mind at the time, because I wouldn't have realized how windy. But okay, so there's I took a strip off, and I punched the top with a border, and bring back in my trimmer. And I'm going to change the blade to the scoring blade. And now I'm going to, still working on my 1/3 area. I took an inch off, which I'm going to count technically in my 1/3. And so I'm going to score this at 3 inches. Actually, I want to make sure I have... It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but I just want to make sure I have the 8-inch. So I'm going to line this up at 8 inches. It truly doesn't matter. You could make this score as big or as little as you want. And maybe you want it to even be... Oh, I shouldn't have did it so hard. My mat might have cut that. Maybe you want a bigger area for photos. Okay, so I'm going to bend this over and expose that section. I'm just going to show this and not adhere it to a page. I'm going to flip back over my 1-inch piece, put it down here at the bottom, scoot this up right there, folded this over, so now 1/3 of my paper is exposed between this, and then I would bring in another piece from the collection. Again, use the scraps you have or a piece of cardstock. And then there's how that would look. Let me grab my repositionable tape. Okay. Just really quickly so you can see how it looks. Because this one is super beautiful. Well, the paper helps a lot on this one. I loved that collection. I think this is the end of it for me, but it was such a nice fall page. Okay, so there we go. What do you guys think about that? I would bring in a border strip. Like I punched this one out. A border punch, I should say. And then, or a border sticker that came with the same collection, and I would put it right on the top. Of course, you could trim your green paper behind if you didn't want to waste all of that. Okay, there we go. So you see how I took the same idea, because in my mind I'm thinking 2/3, 1/3, but I wanted to change it up, so I made it just a little bit different. So I still have 2/3 of my paper exposed. Okay. Okay. I'm going to clean this up, and we'll move on to the third and final one. But trust me, there are more. These are just my top 3. Oh, yeah, let me show you the sketchbook really fast. because, you know, again, I did not create these. I didn't make these up. Let's see. This one is actually in the very front. This one, you'll see here, 2/3 is that beautiful border. I'm sorry, 1/3 is that border, and then 2/3 down here. They just lined up all the photos there. Okay. This is a fun one. I've done that one before. The very next page, same thing. I think you could see it pretty good in the sketch. So you have your 1/3 down here, your 2/3 at the top. They did have a little bit of a border on here. They just, on their 1/3 section, they changed that up by using different pattern papers there. Okay, or border strips. Okay, and then they did some layering with those circles in the background. And then here on the other page is kind of similar to the apron I was just explaining. They have the 2/3 here, and it goes the full length of the paper, the background piece, and then basically they just used a little bit bigger piece there. So probably not getting exactly 1/3 piece of, you know, using one piece and getting 2/3, 1/3, but the same concept. They have the 1/3 section right there. Okay, I think that was it for that one. Okay, but when you start looking through your books and looking through your inspiration, you're going to see these come up over and over. Okay, let's see how we doing here on time. Are we doing good? Okay, well, I'm going to continue. If you have to leave, then, you know, maybe you can come back and watch. I'm going to watch the replay, but I'm going to do one more quick one. And this one is what I call, in fact, I'm going to show you first in the sketchbook so you can get an idea of what it is. So it's a band. I call this one the band, or it's basically a strip. So if you want, I think maybe a strip would be easier. It's basically a big block of paper, a strip of paper, creating a band usually right in the middle. Okay, so the orange piece would be the band, and then how you decorate the top, you could have your cardstock exposed. Again, we're covering up the seam with something. But basically you'd have pattern paper or cardstock exposed on both ends, and then that band right in the middle. Okay, here's another example. You'll see it looks, that one really stands out. Let's look at the sketch. Here we go. So, oh, you can see all my notes. So a piece of pattern paper, a band in the middle, and then they decorated both sides of that band, that strip of paper. They just decorated that. Okay, and then what else do we have? Here it was. Here's a 2-page. This one I love. Let me move that out of the way. Because here they took the band across the 2 pages and they pushed it up to the top, did all their photo placement up there, and then decorated the seam down here. I love that one. I haven't done that one yet, but that's a fun one. Okay, so warning with the band. The band is going to take a little bit more paper than we did before. Maybe not, because we cut it and used the whole piece last time, but you'll see we're going to use, you're going to need about 2 full sheets of paper if you're going to make a 2-page spread. But I guess we did with the half and half, didn't we? We did the same thing. Okay, so let me bring in my examples. I'm just going to use a white piece of cardstock as my base, and then bring in my band. This one happens to be 10 inches. And this is the great thing about it, because to change it up, you could create any size that you want. You could make this, I would think if you want to get photos lined up nicely, you wouldn't want to go smaller than an 8.5. So 8.5 to about a 10, because you'll see the 10, not much exposed. If any bigger than that, you're not going to be able to see anything in the background piece. So I would recommend an 8.5 to about a 10-inch strip length, and then the width is keeping at, for this one, 12 inches. Okay, then you know I'm going to want to cover up that seam somehow. So here I just took a thin piece of paper from that collection, just a random piece. This was a little bit of green. This is a great time for that really thin washi tape. I love that little thin washi tape, and this is probably what I would use. And there we go. There's our band. Sorry, it's a little bit twisted up there, but you get the idea. You get the idea that this band is going to give us, this strip of paper is going to give us lots of room to put photos. Okay, so let's take a look how I would arrange the photos on this one. I would put one maybe going vertical that way, one here, and one here. So I got 3 full-size photos on here, and you can still see my pattern paper. If I made my white a pattern paper, you would see that back there as well. And then where would I put everything else? Well, we can put our journaling here, or if we, it depends, how much do we have to say? Maybe I want to put my journaling tucked in here, even pull it out, maybe have it overlapping. When you overlap like that, it kind of looks like everything is connected and, you know, cohesive. So I would be okay with doing that. And then as far as my title, look, I'm going to go down here. That's a shock, right? Or you could, if you really wanted to, put your title up there. But you know what? Let's just keep it down here. Try something new. And my biggest embellishment cluster, I would put right there. And I probably would come up here and put an embellishment cluster. Okay, you could move these like that if that visually might help. And then my smallest one, I can come here, but I can also maybe come right up here. So there's not a lot of room. You probably don't even need 3. If I'm going to use these full-size photos, then I probably wouldn't want to do 3 clusters. It would really depend, right? And I'm feeling like this isn't flowing, so maybe I would want to move it and have my diagonal going that way. Okay, it was kind of bothering me that it was in a line there. But you know, that's the fun part. So create these basic pages and then really have fun with the building of your embellishment clusters. You want to practice on your embellishment clusters, make a simple page, and then find those areas to practice your clustering. That's my 2 cents for the day. Okay, so how can I also change this layout up a little bit? Let me take these off real quick. It's kind of going back a little bit to our 2/3, 1/3, and that would be to, sorry, these are not adhered down. Bring in a pre-made border. Okay, I had this border pre-made in this kit, and I thought, you know what, that looks pretty good. Again, it's taking up a lot of my room on my page, but I still have a lot of area over here. So depending on the size photos, I keep showing you full size photos because I think that's what a lot of us want to use. And we always have that situation where we have those, we don't want to crop all of our photos down. So I would do something like that. And on this particular one, it has this big open area. I probably would lay a photo right across that because, and I probably wouldn't use white, but you're getting the idea. Okay, tuck my journaling in somewhere over here. This already included my title, so I'm good with that. So where's my journaling? Again, maybe overlap. If you want, let's try it with some smaller photos. We'll keep that one there, but you know, you get some smaller photos on here and you can get a lot more. Well, maybe. Let's try this out. Oh, where's my... It's not as organized as when I first started. Okay. Okay, well, sorry about that. My photo templates. Oh, here we go. I would probably do something like that to give it a little bit of interest and then put those 2 like that. And then you have this area to do your embellishment cluster. It can go anywhere. Okay, so that's the band or the strip, however you want to say it. The band I think I like because it kind of is like right in the middle and kind of is like a belt. So I guess that's why I like that term. Okay, so let's do one more 2-page. Okay, so obviously with this one, I would just mirror it on the other side and be done. That's super easy, super quick. But let's go ahead and build one really fast before we head off of here. Okay, so I'm going to bring in 2 pieces of paper. Oops, here it is. This is just navy cardstock. And then here is my strip or my band. I'm going to push these together so you can see. Now this is a 10-inch block. Okay, so a little bit smaller. It sits right 1 inch up, just like the one we just did, but it sits further over here. So more of your paper is exposed. So if you use pattern paper, you would see more of that. And I like that. So let's see, if we push these together, now you can really see the band or the strip going throughout the 2 pages. Okay. Let's see. Let's see, where would I put the photos on here? I just want to clear my screen. There we go. Okay. I would do 2 photos over here. You can do them side by side. You can tilt them a little bit. And then on this side, you can't get a full, I would really try and work within the band or our section here, because for me it's going to save me time, because I feel like this is going to be a mat for my photo. So maybe I don't want to have to mat everything. You start coming off the side, I'm going to start feeling like I have to mat some things. Okay, so you could squeeze in a 4x4 there. Let's say you did go off because your photos just aren't working. I'm going to bring in a layer piece. Okay, again, we talked about layers in a previous video. This is going to change it up. And my layer now goes from edge to edge. So I had this, how big is this? Let's measure this one. It is 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And now it's bigger, it's wider than my photo. So now I have a mat around my photo, extends all the way to the edge. So it's taking my eye all the way to the other side. Okay. We have those scraps already in our kits, because we like to save our paper, and now we're going to use it up. So I'm also going to bring in this piece, and I don't know how big that was. Let's see, I think it's an 8x8. Nope, 9x9. Yep, 9x9. I probably would want these mounted onto another piece. So this is taking our strip of paper or our band and taking it to another level. Okay, and there's a lot of room on this page depending on your photos and what you wanted to scrap. You could probably fit on, I'm looking through here to see if I can find those smaller ones. You can move it up a little bit. And we have those 3 down there. You wanted it to stay completely in your block or that strip of paper. Well, it won't, because that one's a little bit longer, but there you go. If anything, I maybe would mat that one. That would be totally up to you. And then where would I put my journaling and my title? Well, you guys know where the title's going to go, right? Right there at the top. Journaling, you know what? I would maybe replace this one with my journaling. I could even scoot it up further. It really depends. I'm actually gonna bring it down. I like that look. Keep these ones here and then keep my journaling off to the side. That's cute. I could replace this and put my cluster here. I could maybe move this whole thing up, put my journaling over here. Lots of options with this one. And if I would probably try to get a third cluster in, and it would probably be somewhere over here or here. Let's see. I'm thinking like the middle of the page. Maybe down here. You know what I would do? That's where I would do it. Right there next to my journaling. Let's scoot that over a little bit. Okay. Whoops. So what did you guys think? Are you into these basic designs, these go-to designs? Nobody's really commenting that you have any. Do you have any? Let us know. I'm curious. These help me out a lot. They really do. And that's why I wanted to spend our time today going over, some of the things that help me create things and get my albums done. You've heard that, so you've heard about it before. Yeah, I did not come up with these, and I don't want to take any credit. I first learned about it through Janet Madison over at RTS Scrapbooking. So if you haven't ever been to her YouTube channel, I would check that out. I think she was the first one that introduced me to the concept of go-to designs, and just to have that, in your arsenal so that when you're ready to sit down, then you can go for it. You usually go for a border. Okay, so Jody, you're saying that you would go for a layout with a border on it. Nice. Oh, look, I forgot my border. Speaking of my little embellishment, I would add a strip of paper probably right there. It was the last thing left on my little tray over here. So give it a little bit more decoration. Thanks, Jean. I'm glad that you liked it. Let me come on back. There we go. So yeah, I love this idea. I hope that you do too. Oh look, Jean does right when I said that. Oh good. Oh, you have to go back to work. Okay, yep. We've been on for a little bit longer than we normally are, and Barb says she loves them too. So, well, thank you guys for joining me today. Yeah, let me know. Keep posting in the comments. Let me know if this is something you use and you like. But you'll see these coming up, and when I refer to them now, you'll know what I mean. Okay. But also don't forget, take a look at my National Scrapbook Day crop. It's all in the description below. Okay. Oh, good, Lori. I'm glad that you'll be using these. Awesome. Okay, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks again so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun, and I hope that you did too. But until next time, everybody, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.